edition of the Daily Cheat Sheet. We are joined by Danny Grand, MAGA Man, all the way from Ohio. Welcome, Danny.
What's up, everybody?
Of course, I'm here with Golan Ramraz, and the dude will be on vacation for a few more days. You know, listen, life is way too serious sometimes. So, on that note, I decided let's just start to show off with a little bit of humor today and go on what I find to be the funniest subject of the day.
I already know which story you're going to talk about. Go, I can't wait.
Well, I mean, I think we got it covered. It's breaking news. Rosie O'Donnell blames Donald Trump for overeating, over drinking, and over everything, and leaving the country, of course. And I just found this to be, it's like, my God, how irrelevant has this person become? And it's just enough.
First of all, let's all be really sad for Rosie O'Donnell. She is in full drama mode in Ireland, of all places, blaming Trump for all of her problems, blaming Trump for her drinking, blaming Trump for her eating. We all remember what a svelte, model-esque figure she had pre-Trump. So this totally passes the smell test. You know, I think that this is something we all should really be thinking about as we go into the weekend. And I know it's only Thursday. That's how much we should be thinking about it. So yeah, I feel really bad for her.
Danny, I will say this. I think Rosie O'Donnell might have won Trump the 2016 election. I will go so far as to say that because when he called her a fat pig, that was what he called her, right?
Rosie O'Donnell. They called women fat and ugly. What was it? Megyn Kelly, right? Wasn't it her?
Yeah, Megyn Kelly with that accusation. And when Megyn Kelly came at him during that debate and he didn't back down, that was pure Trump. He didn't say I call all women this, just Rosie O'Donnell. Of course, I'm paraphrasing because it's 10 years ago at this point. But Danny, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's one of the hook, line, and sinkers. Yeah, but there was also with Hillary Clinton. Remember that? It was like, because you'd be in jail. There's a couple of his highlights. And I don't think that she's really got anything to say here, to be honest with you. Rosie O'Donnell is old news. She's just trying to stay relevant. She's like talking about America is such an important place, but you left, you moved to Ireland, and you're blaming everything on Trump. Just another person in the storyline of just blame Trump for your problems. And I don't know. I don't see it as...
I think they need a support group. I think her, Golan, and Kathy Griffin, and all the used up.
She's in one of those things. She's not helping at all. She's a deranged woman. She's washed up, and she can't handle life after fame. So she's just trying to stay relevant. It's just another one of her techniques to kind of have a voice. She's also the one who said, like last week, that they should start to investigate the 2020 elections because she doesn't believe that Trump really won. I mean, come on. You know?
We know that's un-American. Now stop that. Now, here's the thing. 2 decades ago is when this thing really started. It was after the Miss America pageant. It exploded later on The View with Megyn Kelly and all the rest of it. But I think you hit upon something really important. Just like I want to send all the queers for Gaza over to Gaza and let them really advocate for what they need on the ground. Talk about boots on the ground. Those fancy boots should be on the ground. In the same way, I think Rosie should get all the people together that are having mental health issues, binging pizza and drinking pints because Trump is in office, and they all should go to Ireland. I think it's a really good idea. The support group should just be sequestered over there until such time that we feel they're ready to return. And I think that really is taking care of their mental health. You're welcome.
McGregor sends his regards.
That would be great. Conor McGregor is the leader of the support group. Let's get to the real news now, because the real news is a little more sometimes depressing. At least we get a fun with the story like that. But Golan, I think with the Supreme Court, another huge victory. It's important. People constantly love to rail, including Republicans, on what Trump has done. And because of who he appointed in his last term in the Supreme Court, I know they don't always side with us. This is an issue we have. They actually side with the law. I know that's extremely challenging and strange. But they reject South Carolina. They're okay with South Carolina defunding Planned Parenthood, which I think is an amazing thing.
Yeah, look, I think you pointed out something in the last episode that I want to reiterate here, which is that we don't have an ideological bent. It seems that way because we tend to agree on a lot of things, but as anyone who watches this show knows, we argue about plenty of stuff. And the idea of us kind of leaning towards logic and sanity and all of that is why it seems like we have a particular bent. So when you say they don't lean our way, SCOTUS making decisions, it's not our way. SCOTUS, I have to give them credit. The people who Trump put onto the Supreme Court, some people were hoping they would rubber stamp anything that came their way. And sometimes I disagree with them, sometimes I agree with them, but they have been really nonpartisan. They have done whatever they feel is right. We've seen people who are supposedly super MAGA right wingers say no when it comes to stuff that he wants done. In this case, their idea of defunding Planned Parenthood, it's not, by the way, it's important to note, this doesn't mean defunding them as in they are no longer allowed to have any funding. People misunderstand and it's been misrepresented in the press. This is about via Medicaid specifically. All right. So what it essentially means is it's tying up public resources, and that's not the way this should work. If Medicaid enrollees are obtaining care from qualified providers, that doesn't mean they have a court enforceable right to go and do something from a private group like Planned Parenthood. It just shouldn't work that way. So for me, this isn't even a question about Planned Parenthood. It's a question of Medicaid funding, and I think they made the right decision.
I actually think that's a brilliant point. I'm glad you made it. I think that's absolutely a brilliant point. And Danny, I think that's exactly what this administration is trying to get rid of. They're trying to get rid of government spending on things the government should not be spending money on, one of them including Planned Parenthood. I don't see a massive push you don't see the government pushing for people to necessarily have babies. At the same time, don't have a push for people to have abortions. Just stay out of this thing. And that's what I think many Americans that voted for Trump want.
Yeah, the governor, I think, in 2018, he was saying that like Medicaid has a right to ban particular abortion-affiliated providers, including Planned Parenthood. And that's like where they're making this like a media hit piece on Planned Parenthood, but it's actually across the board. It's abortion-affiliated providers because they don't want that in their state. And that's what he did when Trump, got rid of Roe v. Wade. You could say the Supreme Court ruled against Roe v. Wade and put the power back to the states. This means that every state's going to have some sort of legal battle. And this is what is happening right now in South Carolina. But really the crux of the matter is 42 USC 1983, which is the section of law that they basically upheld that a private citizen or even a local government could not sue under section, 42 USC 1983 has to do with abuse of power. Like if a governmental, like a cop beats you up, he has a process. As a cop, he has to take care of you. He can't abuse you. That's abuse of power. You sue under 42 USC 1983. So this claim that they made back in the time was like, okay, you want to have a right to a qualified and willing provider for an abortion. The governor said, well, we're going to be getting rid of abortion-affiliated providers, and that's what this suit was kind of raised up to. So the Supreme Court is really just saying that when it comes to 42 USC 1983, then to challenge South Carolina's decision to exclude Planned Parenthood, they wouldn't be able to stop them from barring it from the Medicaid program altogether. That's really what this is about.
It's important to note also that this pendulum swings both ways, because even though right now we're specifically talking about Planned Parenthood, because this really is about how Medicaid funding works, this could affect groups on the left that are talking about like transgender focused clinics or people who are looking at needle exchanges, things like that. It also can affect groups on the right, ultimately, faith-based health providers, someone who is not providing abortion or birth control. The idea is one-sided groups shouldn't be coming through government funding. It should come through private funding. So this thing is going to kind of have a long arm. It's not just going to be about what it seems like it's about now and what the media is trying to make it about for rage and clicks.
Yeah, because SCOTUS basically said that a state has a right to decide, which is what they did when they gave away, when they overturned Roe v. Wade. They said the state has a right to decide. So this is just the Supreme Court going along with their, stare decisis in the previous, sentiment of the court, which was, we are not going to get in the way. The state has a right to exclude who they want. It's not our decision. So we're not allowing you to sue under 42 USC 1983, which is actually a great thing. It's what people wanted. Certain states are going to go like all in on it and say, yeah, you can come and have an abortion over here. So it's not like abortion's disappeared off the face of the earth. It's quite the contrary. It's just like states are now able to make the decisions for themselves, and the Supreme Court is just reiterating that in this ruling.
Well, I'm really glad I brought up this topic because I just learned a lot from two very smart people. And really, that's the whole point in the show is please take the ideas you hear and take the facts you hear and spread them around. Don't just use the clickbait like I brought up when I brought up this topic. Actually get into it like the two of them, like Danny and Golan just did, and help others understand this. It's extremely important. And because we love to knock, oftentimes, especially people on the right, the Supreme Court, when they don't vote everything straight down the party line. It's really not their job. The left, Golan, has managed to do that perfectly well. But
it is telling, though, because that's why it was a 6-3 ruling. And the only three that dissented were Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson. And that's basically the liberal side of it. The Republicans, it's not that they're Republican. That's not why they did it. They did it because when they voted against Roe v. Wade, this is what they were saying the court's position is going to be going forward. And that's the two sides in a nutshell. I mean, so it's sort of a partisan thing by the mere look of it. But in reality, it's just, the way that you process the rule of law in this case.
Well, on the U.S., began secretly designing bombs specifically to target Iran's Fordow program 15 years ago. And we're witnessing right now a bunch of Fordow truthers who are coming out and they didn't explode. The uranium wasn't there, this and that. I mean, literally, as we always talk about the horseshoe theory, the media and people on the left are now becoming Alex Jones. This is Alex Jones territory right now. We actually have, whether the uranium was there, everybody's a uranium expert, Golan. Everybody's an explosion expert. And I find it fascinating. The left and the right, those two things have really met up right in the middle.
You know what happened earlier today? I was talking to a friend of mine. I have 2 young kids, and so does this guy I was talking to. And we were talking about how everybody online suddenly feels like Daddy Pig from the Peppa Pig cartoon. Why? Because he's obsessed with concrete. And everybody was like, hey, it's 200 plus feet of concrete. And it's a special concrete. It's this concrete and that. I'm like, this is the first time you've ever said the word concrete in your life. And you decided you are an expert. You're going to post about it online. You're going to give everyone your opinion about how the concrete is pierced. It's unbelievable. Everybody's an expert all of a sudden. Here's the reality. These bombs that were used to take down Fordow and also Natanz have never been used before. So for all the experts in the world, they literally have never seen anything like this before in history. 15 years of secret planning went into this. The name of the bomb is the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator. It is a 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb. First time it's ever been used, experts, so all of your history amounts to about 0. And 12 of them were used on Fordow, only 2 in Natanz, but Fordow was the one that was reinforced concrete. You guys excited? 200 feet of concrete and reinforced shafts. And guess what? They didn't stand a chance against this. And this is coming from not only experts, actual experts who know how structures are built, but also from the military. Lieutenant General Dan Kane let us know that these bombs were custom engineered via supercomputer, not only to pierce the concrete, but once it got in, to go through the ventilation shafts deep underground with surgical precision, right? Almost no surface cratering at all. And the power all occurred once it was down below. So it doesn't matter what anybody says. Everyone on the ground, everyone who understands what's actually going on, and not just these armchair quarterbacks who are telling me what they think I want to hear, copy pasting stuff that somebody else thinks I want to hear, have said this obliterated what was going on at those particular sites. We can talk about how long it's going to take them to rebuild. That's a different conversation. But those sites are done.
Well said. And Danny, it went from let's not attack to the attack really didn't happen to the damage wasn't done. There's still uranium there. So, I mean, this shift of this new truther movement is sort of fascinating. And as Golan said, everybody's an expert. And I just want to say something, Danny. I understand people questioning. It's okay to question certain aspects of 9/11. I have no problem with people questioning certain aspects of 9/11. But again, after 9/11, everybody became a demolition expert. And I always encourage people to listen to Michael Shermer from the Skeptic Society, because he did a whole brilliant thing with popular science, I believe. And we're witnessing the same thing over again some 24 years later, Danny.
Yeah, the Fordow bros are definitely going to wake up and be like, what the hell happened over here? Because everything we thought is actually not true. It's true. It's not true. They have no idea what you're talking about now. It's like that tip of the horseshoe we talk about. The far left, the far right, they all have one thing in common. It's always Israel's fault. Everything we do. It's our fault. We dragged them to Afghanistan. We dragged them to Iraq. Now we're dragging them to another World War. So sounds like, Qatar Carlson talking over here. But the problem is that, we had a mop and now they need a mop, right? The MOPs, these massive ordnance penetrators, everybody's like, yo, they're going to use the Moabs, bro. The Moabs, the mother of all bombs. But it was like, they didn't. They're using something totally different, totally unique, totally targeted, totally built, just like the COVID vaccines that came out 6 days after because of warp speed. But they built these bombs that would take a little time to figure out how to do it. In like 5 days, they had them ready to go. The B-2s are already, mid-flight when they kept finishing, some of these new weapons. Guys, what are you talking about here? And you know what's interesting about the B-2s, right? The always used to carry these 30,000-pound, bunker busters, et cetera, whatever. They didn't use bunker busters, technically speaking, but it's okay. But those things are 50 years old, and they could fly through the sky, and still to the technology that exists today, nobody freaking knows. Nobody has a clue where they come from, where they're going, when they come. It's hysterical to watch, and it makes me feel bad in a way for the people who have been dragged along, having their heartstrings pulled by the Arab propaganda machine that infested Truth Social, infested Twitter, and infested the rest of the mainstream media on these kind of topics specifically, because they want you to be like, nah, bro, we can't go into Fordow, bro. We're into Fordow, bro. And it's like, dude, why are you backing Iran? Oh, wait. So why do you want to enrich the nuclear program, dude? You think that's what Trump wants? He's been saying for a decade. For Iran are never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And you didn't listen to him, but you love Trump. You voted for him 9 times. But this ostrich MAGA, I call it ostrich MAGA, they think they're just going to hide and, not let the boss do what he's got to do. And I'm glad that he mopped the floor with these creatures. Sorry to say.
Well said. And go on to his point of what he just said. Trump is very shrewd, and he knows that once something starts, a rumor, a lie, you have to fight that rumor and lie as hard and as fast as you can. And that's what we're witnessing right now. I mean, you had Pete Hegseth going after Jennifer Griffin from Fox News today, but you really have to battle these people like it's a media war, like it's a campaign war of propaganda. That's what he has to do immediately, because it's insane what's going on right now.
I totally agree. I think Trump obviously wrote the playbook on this. The whole phrase "fake news," which now we know is truer than ever, is something that basically he started. He popularized it, certainly, and him going after, all right, I'm going to call on dishonest you and this and nicknaming people and all of that. It's like he is preemptively striking what he knows is coming, because he knows where the bias is. He knows who's in the tank already for what side. So the idea of him just letting snakes into his crib is never going to happen with this guy. Instead, when a lie shows up, he strangles it in the crib. And this is something that he is passing along to his cabinet. He's passing along to the people who work with him. What Hegseth did today was Trump 101. He showed up ready to rumble. He didn't go in there. He knew it was going to be combative. He didn't go in there with a soft hand and then was surprised when there was an ambush and didn't know how to stutter his way out of it. He was ready with facts. He was ready with information. He was ready to go hard. And it's the same way that Caroline Lovett does it. It's the same way that the entire administration has learned from Trump, that just like cancellation, I say this all the time, those people who they try to cancel, who then come out and are like, I'm sorry, and this and that, let me explain, or even they say, I admit it, and now let me try and fix it, they're dead. But all those people who are like, you don't get to cancel me, I don't accept your premise, those people still walking amongst us. Same thing.
I'll tell you a great story before I get back to Danny. I think I might have shared this before. Ben Stein, a few years back, had posted on Truth Social about him missing Aunt Jemima. And I'm sure Danny remembers this. And I woke up the next day to, I swear to you, 60 messages of people going, oh my God, what did Ben say? What did Ben do? And all this stuff. And, some jackass started spreading this around. I was like a little nervous to go to Ben. I didn't want to put him in a bad mood, Danny. And I walked over to him and I said, Ben, these people are saying this stuff online. And he's like, you can't cancel me again. I just thought it was such a a brilliant response. Danny, I want to just go to one more thing, though, on this topic. I just want to go back to the Bush. Bush allowed himself to be beat up, knocked around. He didn't really come out and support those that supported him. And they were sort of smug in their explanations. And that's something we're totally witnessing the opposite of today. The media, they're not allowing the narrative to be shaped for them. Right now, they're shaping the narrative. And it's something brilliantly done.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about like this concept of the weapons of mass destruction. I think there's a key distinction about, well, first of all, when it comes to Trump and how he kind of like manhandles the narrative, he is a master of dominating the spin, making the cycle about whatever he wants it to be about. And he uses it even as a decoy for other things, like the fact that Israel's blowing the crap out of Gaza right now. Nobody's saying a word about it because there's peace in the Middle East. I mean, the guy's brilliant. But if you think about, strategy like on that level, I don't know. I kind of feel like there's like a misconception with Bush because at that point in time, there was heavy reliance on military intelligence to say that there is a bomb and that they have to eradicate them, and they never found any. But the difference between that moment and this moment in time, to me anyway, it seems like we're not trying to describe weapons of mass destruction exist and we have to annihilate them. We're saying the precursor to a legitimate enterprise, Iran, facilitating manufacturing these kind of weapons exists. What are you going to do? Just kind of sit there on the sidelines and just maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Even Marco Rubio, they've got 60% enriched uranium. For any civilian program for nuclear, you need like 10%. Anything over that is questionable, and to go for the breakout from 60 to 90 is like a couple of weeks or days. So, and why is it 200 feet under the ground, but under a mountain and concrete as thick as, what I'm saying, like the subway system?
It's like a James Bond villain. It's literally like every cartoon of a bad guy. It's the bad guy from Inspector Gadget living in a mountain under a volcano. It's like, how do they expect us to trust these people when they don't even hide the fact that they are literally supervillains?
My name is Dr. Evil, but I'm here for peace. Like, what the hell are you trying to say? We shouldn't believe you? We shouldn't believe you now? This is what... So who is really saying that, though? Was it most of MAGA? No, I think it was like 2% of the scaredy cat MAGA. I think it was like 5% of, the non-MAGA Republicans, whatever the hell that means. And then everything else on the left. So what else is new? They're trying to do what you call divide and conquer. If you have a group of 1,000 and you break it into groups of 10, it's easier to beat up 10 guys than 1,000. They try to divide and conquer MAGA, but there's one problem. Our brains work. We can think. We have things to say. We have ideas. We can argue a little bit and not just say, you're not part of the board. You must be eliminated now. Like, that's not how we work. So they're going to fail. And the reason they're going to fail is because the truth, that thing that nobody likes, I have my own personal truth. No, you don't. There's only what happened and what didn't happen. And people are confusion.
And what's happening is social media is really where the root of all of this lies. Because you're looking at, it's not real life. X is not real life. Truth is not real life. None of them are real life. They're all digital psych wards where like 3% of the country or 3% of whatever group is happy that blue sky is going to be a bunch of left-wing nut jobs and truth is going to be a bunch of right-wing. And ultimately, it's a very small percentage of people who are speaking as if they are speaking on behalf of everybody else. So a lot of the narratives are being swayed by a very small percentage. Look at what just happened in New York. The fact that 9.1% of the vote went to Mamdani makes it feel like people who don't know the numbers are looking at it and saying, oh my God, this massive majority of New York came out and decided to vote for a jihadi socialist. But ultimately, 9.1% of the vote is what he got. Very small number. This is something where, similar to online, you see a small percentage of people speaking on behalf of a large percentage of people. And what we really need to start listening to is the majority and not the vocal minority.
Well said. And both of you well said. I mean, Danny's bringing the heat today. He's stored up the heat for quite a while, and really glad you're on the show today. And that's for our YouTube listeners and watchers. Danny just flexed for us. So thank you for that, Danny, an image that I will have in my head for the rest of the day. I want to get to something quickly. I don't want to say this is a news story, but it is somewhat of a news story. Do you think bent MAGA, fringe MAGA, woke right, whatever you want to call it, do you think we've heard the last of them as far as swaying people? Have they put themselves into such a box at this point that nobody's taking them seriously?
I mean, I do. I think they're dwindling very quickly. They tried to ignite a candle flame and get other people to latch on to brighten the flame. They got snuffed out within like the first 5 minutes of that episode, and therefore nobody's going to watch anymore. Do they try to rear their ugly heads again? I don't know. You still got Poso on the beat, and maybe even Bannon. Unfortunately, he's gone that route too. But Candace and Cucker and all these people. But, I don't think they're going to go away, but I don't think they have a voice that anybody really cares. Charlie Kirk dabbled with it, but he kind of U-turned and was like, oh, President Trump just pulled off a masterclass. Yeah, me saving my ass, It was not a good thing. It was really like, you're not fooling us. We're not buying this stuff. What are you saying right now? And if you think that's going to be the new representative face of MAGA, like, it's never going to work. Trump is MAGA. You're not MAGA. And these people had to stop the grift, and they're going to learn the hard way. They're not going to go far.
Look, I think that the biggest loss that they had that hurt their voice on the world stage is their credibility. When every time you make a claim and that claim is shown to be debunked, to be a total BS, and every single time you shout about something, the proof comes out and shows that you're just either wrong, misinformed, or a liar, you can only do that so many times. It's like when you see the people like the Kreskins of the world who are like, I'm going to predict that in 2023, the walls are going to, it's 2023? I meant 2027. Oh, God. Okay, wait. And they keep changing it because they can. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know much about QAnon. I only know what I've read, but I know that whoever Q is keeps making predictions that don't come true. And after a while, you got to go, why are you still listening? So I think that's one of the major things that's happening.
I just want to give you a little bit of history on groups like this that can become a problem. Is not many people are familiar with William Miller. And William Miller was really the founder, the leader of the Seventh-day Adventists. And he rose to prominence because he kept on predicting when Christ would come. And every prediction obviously failed. The problem was the crowds kept on getting bigger even through failure, and then the crowds got bigger, and that's where that movement is today. And I often use that as an analogy for the left. They've promised climate change is coming, the world's going to be destroyed. Group got bigger. With every prediction of 12 years, everybody likes to joke about Trump in 2 weeks. The left is every 12 years, something catastrophic is going to happen. Doomsday, their 12-year doomsday preppers go on, and nothing seems to happen every 12 years. We're here. We have more water in California sometimes than we know what to do with, right? Moonbeam promised us a 1,000-year drought. Had we had reservoirs, we might not have had fires.
Remember the polar bears. Ice caps are going to melt. All the polar bears are going to die.
But here's the thing about it too, is that if you are looking at groups like whether it's the Seventh-day Adventist, 1 million people like that in the United States, like they're still small groups, even though they've got other stuff going on worldwide. But if you're looking at groups like that, they don't go away, but they also don't become culturally gargantuan. All the groups that have someone just shouting blasphemy and shouting news stories that turn out not to be true over and over and over again will have a small sect. And this will too, by the way. They're not going away. They'll lose their institutional power, this woke right or bent right or whatever you want to call it. They'll lose their cultural sway because they've already lost their credibility. So what you'll see small groups with fired up bases, but there'll be very small bases. They're not going to be steering the ship. They're going to be in the back yelling about stuff because they get outshouted by results-driven populism and a base that prefers fighters over finger wagging. And at the end of the day, there's nothing they can do about that. They can try and gather more people to be in the back of the room, but that's where they're going to stay.
I like that line a lot. And there are reports coming out right now. And really, this is the genius and the brilliance of a person like Trump. Is yesterday he posted a whole thing on Truth Social defending Bibi Netanyahu. A lot of people are not aware that almost all media organizations in Israel are anti-Bibi. They've been after him. They've been libeling him and slandering him for many years for cases that most grand juries wouldn't push forward in New York City, unless you're Trump or Bibi. And he came out in Bibi's defense yesterday, and everybody, I think, was sort of like, what's up with this love of Bibi? I'm sure Bannon must have been overjoyed. Tucker Bannon and Candace were reading that post going, oh my God, he's owned by Bibi. And now we come to learn that they're working together on a two-state vision with other countries to get the hostages out and end this damn thing once and for all and build on the Abraham Accords. Go on.
Yeah, look, I think that the entire thing the entire relationship, this bromance between Trump and Netanyahu. First of all, man, I'm getting whiplash because every other day I'm getting a new story, and some of it is deliberate subterfuge, and some of it is actually, I don't even know what some of it is. It seems like one day he's telling him, don't do this. The next day he's like, aha, I really meant this other thing. And it's kind of, if I was, as a writer, if I was writing the television show, I would say, all right, no one's going to buy this. You've done the slingshot thing too many times. Move on to the next plot point. But they just keep doing it over and over and over again. And even this last thing about them saying the call between Bibi and Trump and Rubio, and I don't remember who else was on the line now. Maybe Hegseth. Where it was like joyous jubilation about what happened in Iran and about the next steps and about the potential two-state solution, about kicking out. This is all, by the way, we're not reporting on the rumor. This is just what has been reported this far. We'll see whether it pans out or not. But all these elements of kicking the Hamasniks out of into exile, taking a lot of the Gazans and putting them in other Arab countries, having the UAE and Egypt running the Gaza Strip, all of this stuff that may or may not happen, but is definitely what's being announced and certainly what Bibi has already confirmed. Trump hasn't said it out loud yet, but expanding the Abraham Accords, all of this stuff. It feels like these guys have been walking in lockstep, shoulder to shoulder, and every time we felt otherwise, it has been like a psyop almost. This latest thing where Trump came out and did his rant on Truth Social was extra fascinating, especially for Americans, because most Americans aren't even aware this is going on, that Bibi's in the middle of a trial and that some people consider it a witch hunt and some people consider him corrupt and some people just call him the Israeli Trump and tabloid fodder and all the rest of it. It actually is fascinating the amount of detail he went into in his Truth Social post. So for me, this is actually like sitting back and watching entertainment.
Danny, Trump and Netanyahu are working together, like Golan just spoke about. They have a vision for how they want that region to be. And when you look at everything moving forward and from the past, it's sort of amazing how they're working together. And it's all almost been like, it seems like one big giant plan that was by design. Now, I don't know if that was the case or not, or they went along with this and they keep on growing on a plan, but it's pretty amazing.
Is it divine intervention? Is that even a possibility? I don't know. If you look at it, just go back to the 1990s and you got Trump in his prime and doing his real estate stuff, and you got him in his classic corner office over there. If you look on the wall closely, you're going to see he's got some nice pictures on his wall. Two of them are Jewish awards given to him by different local Jewish organizations in Manhattan that he's been sponsoring. He's got the Trump Organization, which is a foundation in Israel that he's been giving money to since the 1980s. His father built synagogues for people. One thing people love about Trump but can't wrap their head around, he's not an anti-Semite, I can't believe it, is that he's very consistent. He says the same thing over and over again for years and years and decades, and he means it. So he's not just growing fond of Israel now or the Jews now. His daughter's Jewish. He's got Jewish grandkids. I mean, it doesn't faze me. It phases the headline heads, as I call them, that a new idea, a new headline, a new thing. Like, these people don't have a sense of what's really happening. Of course you're working together. Israel is one of America's greatest allies. That's not just a rhetoric piece. It's a contractual, documented alliance. They are an ally, just like NATO. They're like, why aren't they in NATO then, dude? Because they're in the Levant. They're not in the area or the region where NATO actually operates. Otherwise, they'd be part of NATO. They're in the Levant. They're like the singled out NATO of the Levant that we have with them. So the Americans and the Israelis work together. We do a lot for them. They do a lot for us. We do a lot of military exercise together. Trump is not changing anything on that note. Even Hillary Clinton said that Iran's not going to nuclear bomb. Forget her. I don't like her. But still, she said it in 2008, etc. To me, Trump knows what he's doing. This is all planned. It's just not publicized right away. He's playing the base a little bit too sometimes because he's got to just kind of be undercover and under radar to confuse people with 2 weeks. And then a day later he goes. The 2 week stuff that he's saying again now in relation to really your question, I guess, with this plan for not really a two-state solution, but I think what they're talking about is potentially the so-called, what you call West Bank, which you call Judea and Samaria, the supposed West Bank of Jordan, which is really a misnomer on steroids, might have some recognition from the state of Israel in exchange for all these other countries coming into the Abraham Accords and the annihilation of Hamas as a leading figure in Gaza. And, nothing's a surprise here. It just takes time to unravel. And I think it's happening whether people like it or not. The only reason it seems surprising, Judah, is because you have so many people saying that the Jews are bad, the Israelis are bad, he's a warmonger. Of course, he's got all these lawsuits, 2,000, 3,000 cases against him for cigars, by the way, like what was it, like a toy doll or something like that Netanyahu
It's
was charged.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Trumped up charges, pun intended. And the reality is they're not losing their support from the Americans, and that's it.
I think it's really important what you were just talking about, Daniel, that he is reaffirming the allyship of Israel and America. This is something that the woke right was really pushing hard against. Obviously, the woke left has lost it a long time ago, and a lot of the left, unfortunately, is starting to become the woke left. So this is something that people who don't know any better need to be reminded of. We're not allies simply because it's on a piece of paper somewhere. We're allies for very specific reasons. We're allies because we have shared values. We're allies because we have not only a security alliance, but Israel being one of the powerhouses of innovation in tech and cybersecurity and biotech and defense systems. People forget that the R&D that is happening in Israel is basically being given to America on a regular basis. Anyone who doesn't understand that every penny that America hands over to Israel is actually, and not in a bad way, handcuffs that basically say Israel has to spend that money plus a lot more money on American weaponry and tech and vehicles and everything else because it's a jobs program. So it's not actually just a gift that they're giving to Israel. There's cultural and religious bonds, there's strategic geography, there's common enemies, and on and on. I can keep going for a very long time. The allyship matters, and it's really important for everybody to go through in their minds and doing research who our allies are and why. Some of them are more complex, some of them are less complex. This is one of the least complex reasons for allyship that exists of all of them across the swamp.
Well said. And it's really important that you're both bringing these topics up because this is also more propaganda that's being spread, especially within our own movement, supposedly our own movement, by people like Thomas Massey. Massey was on, obviously, I hate bringing up Candace Owens' names, but unfortunately we have to with all her, this is ludicrous. I mean, just anti-Semitic, anti-fact, anti-everything. But Massey was on Theo Von, this putz who came back from Qatar and all of a sudden has, totally by accident, has decided to question Israel at every turn. And he had Thomas Massey, again, spreading lies, just absolutely spreading lies about the amount of money Israel receives, the amount of armaments and all this stuff. And Theo Von's just eating it up. And the problem is you have a lot of people that listen to Theo Von that are not going to do their due diligence. And most people do not do their due diligence, Golan. And Thomas Massey is a dangerous human. And I will say this now. And Danny, people used to say to me, I'm the guy on the street screaming, Jesus is coming. And 10 years later, well, I happen to be right. Not with Jesus coming, but with political things I had said would occur. If we do not contain the Thomas Masseys in our party, when a congresswoman says that no American soldier has been, or no American has been killed by Iranians, she is lying. She is factually lying, and she just does not know the truth, or she's denying the truth, Golan, and we have to put the brakes on these people immediately.
There is no question about that. Now, first of all, Marjorie Taylor Greene, as we talked about, we don't have to beat the dead horse and go through it again, but she has long been one of the most ridiculous anti-Jewish, anti-Israeli figures, even though she tried to reposition herself as, I learned that I'm not that. She was talking about Jewish space lasers long before any of this was going on, and a lot of other rhetoric that wasn't as funny as that. And Thomas Massey, same thing. Frankly, this is a guy who hasn't been quiet about the fact that he is anti-Israel and anti-Jewish, calling Apex influence into question, tagging Israel not a true ally, all of the anti-Semitic tropes that he goes after. The guy is, talk about someone who is infiltrating from the inside. He seems to amplify anti-Israel propaganda on a regular basis. And so these people, whether they're on Theo Von or whether they're whispering to other people within the party, because that can also change minds, they're dangerous. And yeah, if you do just a tiny modicum of research, you can find that almost everything, if not everything that they're saying, is a blatant lie or at least out of context. And I wish I could simply say that they're misinformed. I wish I could say they just need an education. But there's enough people talking to them about why do you keep saying these things, they're wrong, and they keep saying them anyway, that it no longer is something I can forgive or I can set aside as simply a mistake. Just like when you watch Rashida Tlaib after the hospital bombing, that was the hoax that Israel had bombed the hospital, if you remember, towards the beginning of the war. And then it was debunked by everybody on video. She went out for the next handful of months and in every one of her rallies still talking about Israel bombing a hospital. That's not an oopsie. That's not an accident. That's not misinformation. That is someone lying in order to get a point across. They're doing the same.
Well said. And Danny, I know you witness this a lot, and you're a champion at going after people for going after them with the truth. And I know that hurts. It hurts sometimes. It could hurt who follows you. It could hurt a lot of things. I know you don't give a crap. You just want to speak the truth. And we have to realize that if we don't contain this dumpster fire of a few people within our party, and that could be Rand Paul. The apple did not fall far from the tree in his case. Massey, Green, a few of the others. We could, in a few years, easily turn in to the crazy left if we don't watch these crazies.
I simply say these people are too smart to be that stupid, right? They're too smart to be that stupid. They're cunning. They're two-faced. They're frauds, and they're liars. And you know what I really think about MTG? I think that she is one of the biggest hypocrites that I've ever seen in my life. She tries to say she's pro-Trump, she's this, she's that, and she may be in her own mind, and she may even be in some way in politics, whatever. But when it comes down to it, she gets advised from Jewish, the youthful base, the MAGA base, the people of like the up-and-coming age are tolerant. We're like, frick you, you're such a fraud. I don't care what you believe in. Even if 90% of what you say is great, this 10% means you're rotten to the core and cannot be trusted anymore. And these people have to be, like you said, pointed out and stomped out, not physically, but whatever. You could use your free speech. I'm not calling for violence. I'm saying the truth. Just knock her out. Snuff her out. That's it.
This is just for our audience to be aware of something. One thing that is happening, and it's something that's by design, is that Iran uses proxies. The reason they use proxies is for a lot of different reasons, but also for plausible deniability. It allows people to not realize that Iran has attacked. So when you look at 3 soldiers killed and 47 injured, but it happened in Jordan, they can say, well, that's not Iran. When in Iraq, a U.S. civilian contractor is killed and 4 service members are wounded during rocket attacks, they can say, oh, no, that's Iraqi, as opposed to realizing that it's the Iranian-backed Kataib Hezbollah. Right? Same thing in Syria, same thing over and over and over again, all the way back to 1975 when U.S. military officers were assassinated in Tehran by Iranian terrorist groups. So for MTG to be able to say that, she has to cover her eyes and pretend that this is something that is not connected to Iran. And I'm seeing this over and over again online. People saying, well, Iran never did anything to us because they don't realize that Hamas and Hezbollah and the Muslim Brotherhood and all of the rest are Iranian-backed proxies. It's important for everyone to understand.
Well said, both of you. It's really amazing how many of these news stories are not getting the coverage they deserve. And what's getting the coverage is, again, the truthers with the Fordow bombing. It's really amazing. We have some major stories breaking. Again, once again, it's so reminiscent of Trump's first term when he was defeating ISIS, doing a lot of great things. But you had all these, now they don't have impeachment, and now they don't have all these other witch hunts. They're just trying to debunk actual amazing things that he's doing. And the fact that, Danny, that our border is pretty much shut down, that the only traffic at our border is going back the other way is amazing. And nobody recognizes this. And I get tired sometimes of reading even people on the right. Well, what's he doing for America? And I keep on bringing this up. Kash Patel's doing great stuff. Pam Bondi's trying to do great stuff. These are people that work for the president. He has appointed some amazing people. Bessent with the Treasury, who's trying to do some amazing things. Everybody that he's appointed, Danny, shows up for their job every day. We don't hear about, remember You had what's his name, Buttigieg on paternity leave. You had Lloyd Austin literally missing in action for 2 weeks as he was having surgery. But either way, he didn't inform anybody that he was having surgery. You had a vacant government under a vacant president for 4 years. Everybody right now is showing up to work, and let's give them the credit for it.
I mean, it's really the auto pen presidency of the past, but you're right. I think that doing a day's work is something that's a staple of being in the Trump sphere. And I think Susie Wiles, I think she's doing a great job. I think everybody is running a very tight ship. You don't see a lot of leaks. You see Hegseth, you see Bondi, you see Christian Noam, you see even like a Huckabee. Rubio's doing great. You've got a lot of people right now that are getting the president's orders completed. And that's something surprising. So you're not going to have a left-wing media apparatus ever pride anybody in that because they don't love America. It's very simple. Why would they say when America's doing something good for itself, that's a good thing? It's bad for ratings in their mind because that's not their base. You know, they want people who hate the country. They want people who spit on the country and burn the American flag. That's what gets airtime for them. And they're a creature of it. They drink it up. And I hope they drown themselves in it, really. Because, American liberty really revolves around, the right to say what you want and to have, free speech and be honest and be serious about things. And when these people get a chance to do their jobs, they actually do what the president wants. It is a great thing. And they're never going to give him credit for it, but they do deserve it.
Well said. Go on. Final thoughts on that?
Final thoughts are, I've said this before and I'll say it again. When you're watching people like the Trump administration right now, cleaning up the messes of the previous administration, it's basically like having to do double duty. They have to fix the mistakes of the past while trying to implement new ideas and new things. And people are not only not giving them credit for it, and I don't think they care. Frankly, I don't think they're doing it for the credit. And frankly, I don't care if they give them credit either. I'd rather see the results. But it is amazing, the hypocrisy of the media and the hypocrisy of those who complain and complain and complain because one person is not doing exactly things the way they think they should and completely ignore the fact the previous administration was basically out to lunch. It was weekend at Bernie's every day, all day. And I think that this is not about redemption. It's about restoration. And right now, I think it's working. And I just want to keep it going.
Well said. And the reason, though, I bring this up, why it's important, especially from people on the right, and I don't like hearing this from people that are conservatives or Republicans, is a look at the job he's doing. And now you said he's trying to correct the last administration. He's trying to correct the last 30 years of horrific policy with every governmental initial organization. That's what they're trying to do. And we have to recognize this and celebrate this so conservatives could win the House and eventually win another presidency, because this doesn't get solved if we don't win another presidency and we don't keep the House and the Senate. And for the last story, I can't tell if you're joking around with me or not. North Korea is about to open a beach resort as Kim Jong bets on tourism. This is true?
This is 100% true. I wish I could say that the Rosie O'Donnell thing is my favorite news story of the day, but this is my favorite news story of the day. The headline on BBC, North Korea to open beach resort as Kim bets on tourism. I think this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It is literally just going to be a little island for tourism in the middle of this secretive communist regime. I think we all are going to head over there and maybe do a couple episodes from the resort. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. So see y'all in North Korea, everybody. Looking forward to it.
And Danny, to close this up, listen, I would gladly, if somebody started a GoFundMe campaign, I would gladly send leftists to North Korea. I would have no problem putting $100, $1,000 and getting people out of New York City and going on vacation to Iran. It's like the Hotel California. You could check out anytime. You could check in anytime it's a lot like, and let me rephrase that. Danny, I would gladly donate money to any leftist that wants to go to Kim Jong's amusement park and resort. I find this to be fascinating, and anybody that goes, go at your own risk.
Yeah, the Rocket Man Resort. Yeah, I'm not so sure how well it's going to do, to be honest with you. Listen, I went on a cruise one time, like somewhere like from Florida, like in Mexico, an area over there. And it's the craziest thing in the world because they put you on this cruise ship and you get off on these little islands and whatever. But when you get off one of these islands, you get to like this netted kind of like little bar resort thing. It has like big like screens and meshes like at the baseball games. They block the foul balls from hitting you. and that's where the actual locals live. If they could actually get to you, the Americans, to just like pillage the place, there's always a high alert status. I don't know what the North Koreans would even do if they saw Americans like, help us, please, please. Like, I think it would cause more deaths to the North Korean populace than anything else, and it's a really bad idea. And I heard that one of his spokespeople is going to be Dennis Rodman, and I just don't know what kind of creatures are going to go there. But if you want the left to show up and you put Dennis Rodman there, you might have a bigger, he's got 20,000 rooms he's planning, so you might have a bigger turnout than.
Now, I was going to go actually with Greta Thunberg. I mean, can you imagine the image of Greta Thunberg? That would be awesome.
I just loved it. Up until now, their tourists had been from China and Russia, which makes sense. But even the name of the area they're building this thing in sounds like it's a militarized zone. It is the Wonsan Kalma Coastal Tourist Zone in the land where people eat grass to survive. Have fun, everybody.
Can I be honest with you, though, as we're closing up? I didn't even know that people went to North Korea to vacation. I had no idea. You just said people from China and Russia go to North Korea.
They have water parks, man. There are pictures online of Kim Jong-un and his daughter sitting and looking at these water park slides. It's fascinating.
You know what, though? I got to say, we said this story a little jokingly. I think will shock a lot of people because I don't think anybody knew this was happening. So I thank both of you for heavily contributing to this show today. You did far better than I did. And no, you did. You guys were amazing. And I'm really grateful for it. I want to thank Danny Grand, who goes by MAGA Man, and check out all his stuff. He's got a singing career. He's got 20 different careers. He's once again, we have on a jack of all trades and a master of all of them. I want to thank everybody that's been downloading the show on Apple, Spotify, everywhere you could download it. Don't forget, steal your friend's phone, get them to download the show, get your enemies to download the show, get everybody to download the show, and get them to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And don't forget to follow us on Substack, Daily Cheat Sheet. Also, YouTube, watch us. Look at what we look like. Golan is a very handsome character. You can find us on YouTube at the Daily Cheat Sheet. You can look at what Danny Grand looks like. So go to those places. Instagram, of course, Daily Cheat Sheet. The only other place we're not the Daily Cheat Sheet is on X. That's TD Cheat Sheet. And of course, always thank you to all the people on Truth. And on that note, good morning, afternoon, and night world, wherever you are. God bless you all.